Hello, Steve White, Trek White 89 for Steve Arts 89. Well, I just watched Season 2, Episode 2 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds at Astra per Aspera, which means to the stars with hardship. This was a brilliant episode. This is probably the first episode of New Trek which actually qualifies as Star Trek, like real Star Trek. It was brilliant. It was pretty much flawless. I didn't have any issues with it at all, unlike every other episode of Strange New Worlds. It was a courtroom drama. It was court-martial. It was Measure of a Man. Measure of the Man is probably one of the best episodes of Star Trek ever made. And this can sit right alongside it. They managed to subtly deal with issues of discrimination and laws that are discriminating and all the things that we are dealing with today with the Don't Say Gay law bill and the laws against drag queens and all the other things that are happening. They managed to explore all of that without, of course, mentioning any of it, because they're talking about, an alien and their culture being discriminated against in the ways that other people are discriminated against. It makes the point. It uses I've forgotten the word, but you know what I mean. What Star Trek does best is use made up races and examples to argue the case of current day politics without actually directly referring to them. They managed to show both sides of the argument. They managed to show the motivations for the lawyer. They showed her as having a justified reason for everything that she was doing, while at the same time showing that she had an agenda, but showing that she was able to put the agenda aside and do her job. So all the things that people would argue against discrimination and all the things that people would attack them with were all dealt with in the episode. There are a few little surprises. Una actually outed herself because she essentially was seeking asylum, because that's what she was doing when she wanted to be in Starfleet. She was living in an environment where she was discriminated against and in danger, and she sought refuge in Starfleet. Because, Starfleet is Star Trek. It is all the ideals that Star Trek stands for. And it was a good example of how they just explained what Starfleet is, what Star Trek is. And for, these officers who were discriminating against someone and participating in the continued discrimination against someone based on their race and their heritage, and gave them the opportunity to do better, to rise above that, and to actually allow Una to seek asylum and thereby get out of all the charges, and also get out of Pike being court-martialed, because they revealed she was directly asked when he found out that she was Illyrian, and that was 4 months before the case, so before she was arrested. So it was a nice little bow, and they took the opportunity to tie it. Now, what else happened in the episode? I mean, there were some good points against Starfleet, against discrimination, because discriminatory laws, the point that slavery was once law. Just because a law exists doesn't mean it is just, and doesn't mean it shouldn't be changed. So they managed to get into everything. They handled it all well. I don't think anything was left out or overemphasized, or I just thought it was great. I'm surprised that La'an's heritage wasn't brought up. I'm surprised that in this climate she was able to get into Starfleet, even though she's several generations removed and she genetically engineered, she is, ascending from that. So I'm not sure how that didn't get dealt with, but yeah. What else did they deal with? That's really all. It was really a really focused episode just specifically on this case and this situation. There was one moment which was actually a Spock moment, which is another reason why I love this episode. One of the lawyers who was sent in to prosecute Una was a Vulcan, and Spock has dinner with him, and the Doctor and the Navigator were watching them, and she was basically making fun of them being Vulcan, and he was saying, "Oh, they hate each other. Look at them, you can see it," and she couldn't see it. And then Spock gets up, walks over, and apologizes for the outburst, and then leaves. I'm like, that's such a Spock moment. They gave us a Spock moment, the first I feel like he's had. Yeah. So that was great as well. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, the initial part where Pike, went to seek the lawyer did seem very generic drama series. It didn't really seem like Star Trek for a few minutes there. But once they got into the courtroom, it kicked in, and it really was Star Trek at its best. So I'm just a little surprised but happy that they've managed to produce one episode of Star Trek, 100% flawless episode of Star Trek so far. In the new Trek era of about, 60 or 70 shows or something. I don't know how many they did for Discovery. Strange New Worlds, they're, 12 episodes in out of 20 produced so far. But yeah, I loved it. I was moved by it. It was clear what they were saying, but it wasn't heavy-handed. It wasn't preachy. Some people read a lot into it. The relationship between the two of them, people read into it that they were in a relationship. I don't think they were. I think they were friends, and Una abandoned her so she could pass while the lawyer basically faced the discrimination and faced all the things that Una was hiding from or trying to escape. And she resented her for that. It wasn't that they broke up or something. So a lot of people were reading lesbianism into that. I don't think it was there. Even though she did hold her hand a bunch of times, that doesn't necessarily mean a sexual relationship. So, and a lot of course, homophobic people see that and they have to comment. So I've seen some people commenting on that, but I thought it was brilliant. I loved it. It made a really important point for the moment and really managed to reflect upon Starfleet where it has misstepped and how, despite that, it still offered hope and asylum to someone, and then literally asylum to someone, and allowed her to work alongside Starfleet officers and have a crew willingly follow an Illyrian officer with no discrimination or anything. So it kind of worked despite the laws, and they were set up for a reason, but they were set up in fear and ignorance, and since then, things have changed. So it was just really interesting to see how it unfolded. I wasn't sure how it was going to go, but I'm getting towards 9 minutes. I should wind this up. Of course, there was no action. There was no, red alert. There was 2 starship shots. La'an thought that she was responsible, and there was a scene with Uhura where she was asking her to find out if anyone mentioned Una being an Illyrian in the logs, but she said she couldn't do that because that would be illegal and it would get both of them in trouble. Because Lan thought that she had outed Una because when Una came out to her, she made a log about it, but there wouldn't have been time for them to have gotten that log. So that's, I think, how the lawyer worked out that Una actually outed herself. So that was really the only other thing that happened in the episode. It was pretty much all focused on the case. They really managed to just lay it out perfectly. So I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. I'm hoping there's more episodes like this coming. They didn't explore any strange new worlds. They didn't really explore any new civilizations or anything, but they managed to define what Star Trek is, why it matters, why it's still relevant, and that it doesn't have to be dead. that it can exist in this sort of show. And if they would just, remember that and put a bit of this into every episode, they can really call themselves Star Trek. But I'm going to go. I don't know if I said it already, but feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Bye.